Hi, my name is Crispina French, and promoting creative textile reuse is my jam. I'm an OG textile alchemist, worked my way through art school making ragamuffins from thrift store sweaters way back in the 1980s. That college side hustle grew into a full-fledged business, and here I am today to show you how to do it too. Stick around for all the things helping to navigate both the chaotic and dreamy chapters of building your profitable textile upcycling business. We'll talk material sourcing, business savvy, product development, marketing, and self-care. Gloss over the hard parts? Not here. Experience, lessons, and know-how. Deep dive into the struggles, wins, and rewards of running your sustainable textile upcycling business. Think of this as your favorite craft class mixed with environmental business school. Are you ready to be inspired, energized, and supported? This is the Rags to Riches Textile Upcycling Podcast. Are you a textile-centric crafter who loves vintage yardage, unusual fabrics, notions, and sewing tools and tutorials? Maybe you're a sewing teacher in need of cool and inexpensive cloth for students. Whether sewing high-end bespoke couture or experimenting with new textile making processes, swansonsfabrics.com, located in the heart of Turners Falls, Massachusetts, has just what you need. You can shop online or at the very well-organized and jam-packed store. Swanson's Fabrics is a thrift shop of fabric, notions, and textile tools. It's a community repurposing the leftover collections of home sewers, addressing the reality that we have enough fabric and craft supplies for generations, stored right in our very own attics and closets. Swanson's makes it very easy to pass on an excessive fabric stash and find inspirational treasure for sewing projects. Additionally, Catherine Swanson hosts an online group for entrepreneurs interested in using her business model for fabric thrift stores in their communities. Find Swanson Fabrics at swansonfabrics.com and on TikTok and Instagram. Hey, out there in the wild world of podcast listeners, welcome to the latest episode of Rags to Riches Textile Upcycling Podcast. My name is Crispina French. I am your host, and I am super glad and excited to introduce you to today's guest, Manny Jackson. Manny runs an organization called Thread House Co. out in LA. He's going to tell us all about what that is, what he does, his work, and we're also going to dive into what is actually sustainability. What does that actually mean? So, Manny, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Crispina.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And I'd love to get a little bit of background about like how did you get interested in textile upcycling to start with? Like, was that something you had from your upbringing or?
Well, it's so interesting. You know, we become product of our environments in some kind of way. And, you know, my mother used to go to the thrift store and buy clothes all the time. And as a kid, I hated it. So I didn't like the fact that that's what she would do.
But I was always scared somebody at school was going to be like, that was my sweater.
Yeah. Exactly. And, you know, and then also my grandmother had what we call funny story, what we call the wash house. And the wash house is where they got a lot of clothes that was just donated from people in the community. And they would just give it to people that was in need. And as a kid, I didn't really know. I didn't really understand. That was not the cool thing. But fast forward, it played a big part of my DNA. And when I turned about 19, 20, 21, I started hand painting on clothes. You know, I started going to the thrift store and buying old clothes and hand painting. And that turned into my first collection called Equality Abstract Apparel. Now, I didn't realize at that time that I was actually upcycling and doing, you know, practicing sustainability. But that actually began a part of my brand DNA. But where I realized what I was actually doing happened in 2000 and I say 15, 16, where we had to I had a charity called Hope Healing, and we needed to make some hats. Well, I'll take that back. Fast forward, before that happened, I decided to make this what we call now our crew cap, which is our signature cap. And that crew cap, I just went in my closet. I wanted to create a solution for an alternative for people wearing beanies, right? So I wanted to create an alternative for people wearing beanies in 90-degree weather. So I decided to make this hat, right? Like this thing that I thought I was coming up with. So I just took some old fabric, cut it up, and I made caps. You know, I took my old jeans and I made hats. And that actually became something bigger, right, for us. And then fast forward, when we started our charity Hope Healing, I started this whole campaign called R3, which was Recycle, Repurpose, Reprogram, was our R3 initiative, where I decided to upcycle 100 caps, right, and for us to raise money for our charity. And that really is what cultivated this whole overall sustainability journey. So I had to kind of give you a little bit of the blueprint first.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's kind of funny because I too had a mom who shopped at the thrift store, and it was horrifying as a kid to, everybody else at school. First of all, I grew up in a place where there was nobody that had a weird name, and, people thought my name was Crispina, and I was like totally cool with that. Like, yeah. All right. And my sisters were Dorcas and Felicitas.
Ooh,
so like,
Dorcas.
Yeah,
oh.
Dorcas. I don't know. So,
and I know kid, Felicitas. Honestly. I know a Felicitas as well.
Do you? Yeah. Yeah. So, funny story. Toni Morrison, in her book Beloved, there's a character named Dorcas and a character named Felicitas.
Oh, wow.
Weird. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That made me feel like.
I mean, that's true. That made your sisters feel pretty proud, though.
Yeah, but I felt like I got left out. I'm like, Toni, I'm over here.
I'll put you in my story, Crispina.
All right. Cool. Close enough. So yeah, and I think it does, like those young years do. I mean, they are part of our DNA. And as we go forward in life, it's kind of astounding sometimes how they come back and you realize like that thing that was like was a hardship really informed us in a manner that brought us this alternative kind of sense of freedom in our lives, right? To create the path that we're walking without, having to answer to others, right? That's kind of a cool thing. Right. So Thread House Co. now, is that a for-profit or is it a not-for-profit business?
So Thread House is a for-profit. Okay. We were on the verge of starting a nonprofit last year with Thread House Project, which was where we wanted to create what we call our incubator program around sustainable solutions and sustainable fashion. So in 2022, which was last year, 2022, I decided to step out and really pursue this whole idea around sustainable fashion. And I wanted to create a program that also would help sustain people in our community, as well as educate individuals about, just cool, different DIY projects, but being able to take their ideas and being able to put it also in a retail store. So we was able to partner up with a retailer and everything and host different classes around being sustainable, around sewing, and just different parts of it. So that was what I was really pushing forward towards in 2022. So we kind of put everything on hold for a little bit for me personally. When I say I put everything on hold a little bit to kind of personally focus on my own sustainability and my own development first.
Yeah. It's funny how, sometimes there's two things I want to touch upon. I don't want to forget. One is how you learned how to sew, which I learned a little bit about before our conversation. But the other thing that I'd like to focus on first is the aspect of sustainability that, we all talk about environmental, kindness, making sure that the environment's healthy and, doing what we can to keep things from, excessive consumption and try to just like really educate. But, in the middle, like the very center of all of that is us, right? As people, as humans, like we are actually part of our own environment, right? Like we're
Mhm.
part of the biosphere. And, so yeah, talk a little bit about how that plays a role in what you're working on now.
Well, so many things. This coming into 2021, leaving out of 2022. 2022 was a very rough year for me, very transitional year. I saw a lot of growth and a lot of success in a lot of areas when it comes to business, but I saw a lot of stifling areas in my personal life. So 2023 forced me to kind of sit back and look and re-examine 2022 and re-examine my journey in my life. And some things was brought to me that I might be challenged with some type of mental health. Well, honestly, that I might be in a mental health crisis because it led up to just all of the loss just kept going. And personally, I don't think I was aware of it. And I
It's
just,
so often that we are, like, when we're in a trauma situation, we don't realize it sometimes until it stops, right? Or like or until we stop.
well, a lot of times we don't realize it until someone brings us to awareness.
Right.
And I think that and however it looks for you, it could take individuals stepping inside on the outside saying, hey, look, maybe this is something that you might want to look at. And
Mhm.
so for me getting that idea and also my background simultaneously while I've been working in fashion, I also worked in mental health for over 10 plus years, literally almost 2 decades. So with that being part of my own journey, I've been a mental health advocate for my father and for other people in my life and everything. So when someone brought it to my attention, it was only right for me to really look at this and see if this is something that I'm dealing with. And I think we all are dealing with our own mental health issues, but I think it's different when you start looking at diagnosis. You start looking at scientific things and scientific reasons. And, if I'm going to be talking about sustainability, fashion, and everything, I have to talk about the beginning of this. And I have to talk about the core, which is sustaining ourselves. And that's where I'm
Right.
at. I'm in that
Right.
that journey of trying to put myself together and sustain my life so I can do all of these amazing things that I dream to do for people and that I dream to do for the world. And I think that I've been able to touch a lot of people's lives personally in my own journey. And from a spiritual side, I think this was part of the next why, right? And I say that because my brand, Thread House, our tagline is address the world. It started off with dress the world. But someone brought it to me and said, before you could dress the world, you might have to address the world. So we added that to it. And that was a jewel that I got from that gentleman that day. And so that became the tagline for our brand. But it was always a cloud over my head about, like, what am I going to address the world about? So when this whole idea around sustainability came from last year, which is something that I've already been doing. So I didn't just hop on a sustainability wave and just say, hey, I'm a cool upcycler now. Like, this started coming to me, right? Because of what I was already doing, all of the cool stuff that I was making and everything. So this became a big part of the DNA. And I said, I'm going to make this the DNA. This is going to be what we're going to be all about.
Yep.
So, fast forward here in my own personal role box. Wait a minute. Sustainability. Well, you got to sustain yourself, and I want to help as I'm on my personal own journey very slowly. Every day is very different. So today is a different day than what it was 2 days ago. So as I'm on that journey and recognizing my challenges, I want to help other people because one thing that you identify with is when you are dealing with your own struggles, you identify who your tribe is. you understand why you're attracted to the people you're attracted to. And you can also see that other people may have their own personal issues that's not being aware of things. So I want to be someone that can also bring this to a space where I can provide resources for people, and not just resources, Crispina, that are just on the internet. I'm talking about real life people that you can reach out and touch. You know, real life opportunities, money to help you. You know what I'm saying? Get an hour therapy session, right?
Yeah.
Talk to a psychiatrist, right?
Yeah.
Talk to some type of nurse practitioner. You know, these steps that are in the past 30 days that I'm learning about every single day, taking on this particular part of my own journey and my own experience.
Yeah. And your sustainability. And let me just tell you that, before our conversation, I always, first of all, I can't remember how I first learned about you and your amazing work and just the way you're so giving. And I feel like this is kind of something that a lot of people in our industry, with air quotes around it, or, who have shared the experience of upcycling, there's a lot of giving, a lot of givers, right? Like we tend to we want to help, we want to solve problems, we want to address the issue, right?
Yeah.
And there's a point in time where you got to fill the tank. And if it's something where you're some however that works for you, whatever that means to you, it's just to reinvigorate yourself and find that balance where you're feeling sustained and you're feeling nurtured and supported by in whatever way, if it's by your business, if it's by your friends, your family, your community. And I think one of the things that really resonated with me, Manny, was you're willing to share this very vulnerable thing that most people who have dealt with mental illness issues in their lives, and this is from me, like I have no experience in the mental health industry whatsoever. I know a lot of people, and we all have mental health, strong or not so strong. So I just see a lot of people who struggle and don't know that they can just ask for help, right? And they don't know that they can just like, oh, wait a minute, I have the power to change the way that I'm navigating my path, and let me just do that. Let me be vulnerable. Let me share this with people. I think just the way that you're able to share, even like on your social media posts, talking about your vulnerability and feeling like you need to like step back and really assess your own mental health. That's so beautiful. That is so helpful to so many people who have not ever thought of that as even being an option. Like I can just imagine like the fear around being that vulnerable. And so even for me across the country, living completely different lives, walking completely different paths, maybe not completely, because we do have this commonality of the upcycled passion for that. I feel like it's helpful. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for saying that. And it took a lot. It almost took me like 30 days to do it. And, you know, being a part of the upcycling community. And last year we was in a documentary called the Upcyclers, and we won an award for our program, and which was the Green Arrow Award. We won a billboard and went to Times Square. We had all of these amazing things that I didn't mind sharing, and that I was very transparent with people about. And also we also had struggles. Like I lost my truck. I was trying to convert a mobile boutique and I lost that. I lost my mentor. Somebody wrecked my car right in front of my studio. It was a lot of loss as well. And I was transparent about that. So when it came to this level of discovery, it was very, very, very hard, honestly, to be like, am I? Should I even let people know? But or but then I'm like, well, for me, I feel like my mission is all about talking to people. I feel like my mission has always been about sharing. Like all my jobs has always been about helping people. Working in mental health every single day has always been about helping someone on their journey. I need help on mine.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
It's okay. And it's, yeah, beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
I need help on mine.
Congratulations. Yeah.
And if all these people think that I'm so amazing because of all these dope designs and all of the things that I've done in this world to try to, also help people as well as helping myself and everything. Well, this is part of my dopeness. You feel me? My
It
mental
certainly is. It
my
certainly
mental
is.
conditions is part of my dopeness. And if I'm not in a good place and if I've lost everything, it's a lot of people that's on these streets, and that could be anybody at any given day. And I've met people on my journey that was sitting in a high rise one day, and one day later, 2 days later, they're on the streets trying to figure it out because whatever happened in their journey, I feel like we have to help sustain one another. So if we're not being upfront and telling people where we are, and if we're not trying to help, then what's the point of having people on your journey with you? And that was only the thing that's what really allowed me that level of vulnerability. And I said to myself, yo, I've touched so many people with my designs and my hats. Like, this is the crown, right? People are wearing the crown of my creation on their body. And not saying this in a I'm not saying this in like a boasting way. But if I'm able to get people's attention with my platform through fashion, this may be the thing that I'm supposed to address the world about. This may be the beginning of this journey for me. This may get me a book deal. This may get me on TED Talk. This may get me on bigger stages to talk to people, which I enjoy doing. So maybe fashion's been the catalyst for maybe something a lot larger. And maybe in my own journey, the reason that it's taken up until I'm 41 years old to know where I'm at in my own personal journey and why I've had so many setbacks and failures and yada, 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 yada. Maybe this is what's been the catalyst. And maybe that's going to help somebody else as well. So,
that's so beautiful. I think that is so, so cool. And I think that I just honor you because I can only imagine how hard it is to have made that choice, to really like go inside and have that introspection that allowed you to be like, yeah, this is why I'm here. I have to do this. I need help on my journey. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Really beautiful. If you're just joining us, you guys, this is Manny Jackson that I'm talking to today. And he has just this beautiful spin on sustainability. And if you missed the first part of this episode, I really encourage you to hit the rewind and go back and catch it. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come right back and continue this beautiful conversation. Today's episode of Rags to Riches podcast is brought to you by the Stitcherhood Recycling Society, my online membership community for creative textile upcycling, recycling, and reuse entrepreneurs. Inspiration, shared experience, tutorials, business savvy, and connection to a whole posse of people who understand the passion and intricacies of running an environmentally kind, creative textile upcycling biz. Daily posts, weekly stitch hours, book recommendations, group chats, member profiles, and strong connections is what you can expect when you join Stitcherhood. Head on over to stitcherhood.crispina.eco and sign up for a free 7-day trial to see if my Stitcherhood Recycling Society is a good fit for you and your textile upcycling business. Hey, so I'm back with Manny Jackson from Thread House Co. out in LA. And we were just talking about kind of the root of sustainability and how to really make that part of what the textile upcycling aspect of, how it can all kind of ride together, right? And in one little, maybe not so little, but one kind of capsule, it carries all of this, right? Like sustainable fashion, sustainable, livings. We all think about, how we can be really kind to the earth and our natural environment. But so I think oftentimes the piece that gets most overlooked is our own mental health. And Manny's on this beautiful journey to really dive into that and find a place where he's able to address that. I guess I don't want to speak for you. So like, what are your thoughts like going forward as this year unfolds? Do you have any kind of milestones or place? Are you looking forward to, an achievement or a place you want to get to? Like what is your, yeah, let's hear about that.
Okay. So first part of this journey is, well, I had to find the resources, right? So it's taking me about almost a month, close to a month, to find the resources. So when I tell people, first of all, when I started this journey, this happened January the 3rd, when someone brought it to my attention that I may be struggling with something. And I quickly hopped on it. So it took me until about February the 5th or 6th to lock in with a therapist, right? Well, my own therapist. Now I have my own therapist, right? And now I can call her, or we have our meetings, and then we have bi-weekly meetings. And then I also have another therapist, which is helping me with getting the right tools. So now we have two different. I have a CPT therapist and a DPT therapist, right? And which I can get into all of that later. But now there's a nurse practitioner. There's a whole entire mental health team. And what's really interesting to know about this journey for me is I've been on the other side of the table. So I've been a part of someone else's mental health team. I've been that mental therapist, that behavior interventionist that's helping them, with the things that they're struggling with. And like, although my responsibility was working with people with autism or that was on a different level of the spectrum, I never saw myself any different from them. So why would I not when it's my turn to be on my own journey? So my overall goal right now for me is to get myself in a better position, to get myself more stable, get myself a safer environment. I'm currently looking for a better place to stay, and because when you're dealing with this, then you also have issues because you have partners that's like, whoa, so you have to understand the people that's in your life that it might not also, they might have to recognize their own journey as well. And so sometimes you might have to go your separate ways. Sometimes you have to cut out people out of your life, So my part of my goal right now is to get myself to a place where I'm more sustainable, where I'm not running a rat race and,
Yeah. Reduce the struggle, right?
Yeah, reduce the struggle and just get to a better life. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Get to a lifestyle that once that I was definitely enjoying at one point in time and be better. Then the next part of that goal is to continue to help others with this as well. Help people, provide them the resources, the financial support. These things are not necessarily free, but there's this financial assistance, right? So I've been able to find different programs. I've been able to talk to I have a meeting with a housing authority company that I'm like wanting to figure out how this housing program can offer these type of services to people that's also out in these streets trying to find housing now. my goal now is to continue to evolve this whole idea around what we were building with the Thread House incubator and this whole sustainable idea, sustainable fashion movement, and just add this as a layer to it. But this is the beginning of the layer. Because
so
before
sustainable living, it's sustainable living, Manny. It's not just like, fashion is frivolous. It's fickle, right? Like it changes all the time. But sustainable living is like what we are all actually really working toward.
Exactly. You said it the best way. Sustainable living. And I tell people now, in order for you to do anything, you have to sustain yourself.
It's so true. One of the things that I hear a lot and that I love to do is, for years. So just a little bit of background about me. And it's kind of funny. Like, I wonder how many of our listeners out there are familiar with my history, but I ran a production company making textile, all 100% recycled home goods, blankets, rugs, pillows, and clothing for men, women, and children. So I had 40 employees for 22 years and I worked my ass off and I loved it. It was just, taking something that somebody thought was garbage and turning it into something that somebody thought was like magical. And the process was magical to me. Like I felt like Rumpelstiltskin, if you know the old fairy tale, right? Like spinning straw into gold. Like that's what I did all day. That was my job. Mm-hmm. And I didn't care that I was working so many hours and, I loved my work. It was like, it sustained me in a way that was comfortable at the time. And then over time, I just started to realize that if I had been working that for the length of time that I did that for any corporate company, I'd be making way more money than I was taking home, like way, way, way more money. And I had to be like, okay, I love this job. I love what I'm doing. I love to employ people and give people good jobs where they were treated fairly and honored for their being exactly how they were. But I needed to change it. And I actually think you're making me realize that I had a mental health crisis where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I just simply, I cannot, I have to stop. I have to take care of myself. And I actually stopped my production. I shut down my production company and sort of just exhaled for a good long, I was like a 6-month exhale. And then I was like, okay, now what do I want to do? And I wrote a teaching book and I thought, what I really want to do is I want to teach people to have a truly sustainable textile upcycling business where you make enough money so that you have health insurance and a savings account. Because I didn't have either for 22 years. And that it's not that's not a good way to live. And it's to realize that at the age of 41 is a gift. Because you're not 61, you're not 42, and you go, okay, I got to stop this because I got to take care of me. I got to be okay. I got to be healthy. And now, the next chapter will open for you, and it'll be a very clear direction for you because you'll have considered your mental well-being as being an integral piece that must be carried forward on your journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so many like us. So many like us.
Yeah.
And I would say at a point of it, it's not our fault. Because, in my part of it, I never knew why things were so difficult for me and why I've set my life up the way I have. But now I know. And it's not wrong. There's a way. We need help. And they see that's what I'm talking about. Even there's systems that helps us set things in place. Like one of the things that I'm learning about is nowadays it's ADHD, but it's different as an adult ADHD. And just how this different systems is, like how we have certain things helping us navigate our lives. Like there's certain groups that I'm a part of now that just can help me. And this is not just the only thing that I'm struggling with, but this is just one of the things. And that was such a big thing because I didn't even know. And I was like,
Yeah.
yo, this is it. This is what it is.
Yeah.
This is why I need to have systems like this, because I thought I was tripping. And when you tell people that these are the things that you need, but you have no reason of telling them, it's like, oh, but when you have a reason now, because you can support it, it's like, all right, this makes sense. And what I love about what you just said is that you came to that place, and it always happens for us. It happens for anybody, especially business people. We come to that place where we're like, is this fulfilling me enough? Am I being fulfilled enough? And I want to be at a place where I can be fulfilled and make sure that I'm fulfilling my own personal parts of my journey, taking great care of my kids and making sure that, I can help prevent them, as well as helping other people in their journey as well. I want to have
It's
help.
like that thing they have on those airplanes, when you go on an airplane, they go, put the mask on first, like yours first, then the kids, right? Like,
exactly.
It's so true. It's like the same analogy. Like you just have to, so I think that the big takeaway from this conversation is that like when I say you, I'm not speaking to you personally, Manny. It's just like one out there in the world, in order to have a truly sustainable business, you got to know that you're the most valuable employee that business is ever going to have. And if that employee is not thriving, you got to make that employee thrive.
Yeah, you do.
Right. And so I'm just so thankful to have.
You can have 20, 25 employees working for you, but if you ain't solid, eventually something implodes.
Yeah.
And that's, and I understand you're still trying to keep the business, you're trying to keep the lights on and everything, but I just want to encourage individuals that's listening to this podcast. It's okay to get yourself checked on.
Yeah.
And if you don't realize that there's something going on, I think the very best step is to take a real look at reality. Take a look at reality.
And ask yourself, right? Like, is this serving me?
Is that?
Yeah. Well, right? Like,
to be honest, I felt everything was serving me. I definitely felt that I was being served, right? What the problem was when you sit back and you think about, I need healthcare benefits. I need to make sure that, I'm not overworking myself to the point where I'm not even able to pay myself. Like, I'm paying everybody else, but I can't pay myself. Now, here's the thing. That's part of the journey that's going to always be, but you start taking steps back to figure those things out, how to do those things. I'm not telling anybody to go and quit anything that they're pursuing, right? I'm not quitting. But what I did decide to do was take a step back and slow it down a little bit. And this is the thing. Everybody's always told me, Manny, you need to slow it down. Like, so anybody listening to this podcast and know me is always saying, Manny, you need to slow it down. I couldn't slow it down. But now seeking outside help, that now can help me slow it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all the resources we want to be able to be.
Yeah. This is such a good lesson for me personally, as we speak, as well as I think a lot of people, this is just going to resonate so nicely with them. And I feel like, slowing down, assessing how to move forward in the way that you choose. I just remember being on this, I felt like I was on a freight train, like, just, how do I slow this down? Like, how do I change lanes? How do I, and it worried me. It worked for a very long time. And then, it finally came to a point where it was like, I just had to stop. I had to hop off that train. And it was a really hard decision for me, because it meant that all my people who I'd worked with, some of them I worked with for 15 years, didn't have the job that they had, with me, and that was pretty heart-wrenching, and that was what took me so long to choose to change, because I just didn't want to disappoint people. I didn't want them to have to lose something that I was providing them,
Know that so
So,
well.
yeah.
I wanna address that really quick, and everything, because especially in the upcycling world, in the world where we are having all of these amazing things, and we're building all of this stuff from people's trash or discarded goods. Um, when we get to that point where you are knowing, like, I want to be able to help those people, the hardest thing is taking a step back and stopping, because of all the people that you feel like you're going to disappoint. That is the hardest. That is the hardest, was the hardest, and will be the hardest for me.
Yep.
This is why the level of transparency for me is so important, because when I say, hey, I have to take a step back and I put everything on me, it has nothing to do with anyone else. And maybe me doing that will help them as well. Maybe what I'm able to do will help someone else look at what they're doing as well. And so maybe I can be able to still be a resource to them. Maybe there's something else that I can do to, help. And so that was my hardest part of it, Crispina. And I understand that as a business owner, especially in the midst of building all of this stuff that's so amazing, so dope and crazy. It was very, man, it sucked to be honest, just to be like, all right,
Yeah.
we're going to close it down now.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And I crawled in my hole, but
Yep.
I'm glad that I'm doing that. And part of, so I want to encourage someone, if you do have to take a step back, if you're looking at things right now and it's not working for you and you have to take a step back, I would say don't worry about everything in between. Take the step back. Take the step
Yep.
back. Listen to the podcast. Go and look at other resources. Talk to
Yep.
someone. I think that level of social media, and social media for me was it's very hard. It's very hard because a lot of times I want to get on social media and I want to be just very honest with people. It's very hard because I want to get on social media and I don't know what to say. It's very hard because I don't know how many times I should post. Social media was creating more anxiety for me than helping me. Then all of these different things of my businesses, having to do certain parts of my business that was creating more anxiety. And so certain things you just decide not to take a part of or not do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was okay once I said I'm gonna take a step back from social media. It was okay now that I decided to redo my website and now tell people, hey, this is how I want to do orders now. Like because we make one of ones and everything, and I got a lot of anxiety trying to recreate one of ones and just doing markets and selling out. And it was just so much anxiety around things. And I kept having all these other things happening with shipping and all this stuff. So I just decided in this part of my journey and with Thread House, with the sustainable fashion movement, with the Web3 stuff, everything that I decided to do now, I am doing it my way. And I'm not doing it under societal constraints. I'm not waiting
Yep.
for someone to validate if it's okay for me to speak about my mental health, if it's okay
Yep.
for me to, talk about, this thing that I'm struggling with right now. I'm not waiting if I don't want to post.
Yeah.
I don't want to post.
Yeah.
I'm taking all of that power back. And I just want to encourage individuals that take your power back. Find where your power is. If people don't want to deal with me, they don't want me in their world, I'm out. If you
Yep.
don't understand who I am and I don't work for you, I'm not your person, I'm out. I'm taking
Yep.
all of that pressure that I've had to be for everybody else. I'm taking all of that off of me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that is what's going to help me sustain to get to a different level. And I just want to
Yep.
encourage people to do the same thing.
I think that is just the coolest thing, Manny. And I think that, you know, your honesty and your transparency and your ability to share your journey is just like I've never heard that before. And I just feel like it's such an honorable thing. And I feel like, you know, correlating that back to that upcycle fashion and about how, you know, maybe this is what you're here for. Maybe this is your sacred duty, right? Like maybe this is really where that sweet spot is for you. And I feel like this is, I mean, from my perspective, it certainly seems that way. So kudos to you for
Thank
finding
you.
that magic place, right? And
Thank
like,
you.
thank you so much for sharing that with
Thank
us.
you.
And I just, I hope that we stay in touch for a good long while and, you know, support each other through the, you know, all of it. Just, it's just, thank you so much. What a pleasure.
I got some really cool ideas. And let me give you a little bit of your flowers too. It's not easy running the business that you're doing. You've done so much. I was reading over your website and you're doing so much for the sustainability community and this whole upcycling community. And I want to encourage all my fellow upcyclers out there that's listening. You know, pay attention to this podcast, pay attention to what Crispina is building for us because we don't have many platforms. You know, it's becoming cool to be upcycling and everything, which is dope. I love the trend,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's different when it becomes a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah. Totally
It
true.
really is. So, you know, shout out to you because I know it takes how much it takes to organize a podcast and everything. I used to have a podcast, right? So for a very hot second for like 6 episodes. But because I understand how it takes what it takes for that and the team and you know I'm not sure if you have kids and your family and all of that stuff, but if you do, that's even extra stress. So I want to just give you kudos for building what you're building and providing a platform.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for having me on this show today to you know share a little bit of my journey and everything and talk about sustainability to me and where I'm at on this sustainable journey.
Thanks for joining me, Manny. It's such a pleasure.
Definitely.
Hey, so I'm over here and I'm serving you a giant air hug because you just finished another episode of the Rags to Riches Textile Upcycling Podcast. Thank you for being with me. Our music is provided by The Lucky Five. Learn more about them at thelucky5.com. Our show is produced and edited by Vandal Hyacinth. If you want to dive in deep, head over to Rags to Riches Textile Upcycling Podcast.com.